Good afternoon, Bay Nation. Welcome to another episode of Fantasy Bay. Your host, Mike Williams here, and my co-host, Geoffrey.
Good afternoon, Bay Nation.
This is going to be the part 2 of my week 2 game previews. If you missed part 1 or any of the games that you're looking for aren't in this one, just go over to part 1 and you'll check it out. It'd be great. Alrighty, I just want to give you a heads up. If there is a specific game that you're looking to find out what the preview's like, you can either hover your mouse at the bottom of the screen and it'll tell you what game, or you can go into the description, click that, it'll take you right to the game you need. I understand that these videos are very long, so I want to give you exactly what you need when you need it. Click around however you need. Alright, Geoffrey, is there anything you'd like to add?
The timestamps are a fantastic idea, sir. This will allow your audience to use their time more efficiently.
Sounds good. Let's get it started. Alright, up next we have the Washington football team versus the Arizona Cardinals. And the spread is 6.5 points, Arizona. And we're going to start off with those Cardinals. First off, Kyler Murray is an absolute beast. Of course you're starting Kyler Murray. You're starting him every week, and this is a plus matchup, so fire him up. Washington's defensive line is pretty solid, but you're starting up Kyler Murray. He had 91 rushing yards last week. Absolutely fantastic. I did air quotes because should have had more rushing yards. So he's an absolute beast. You definitely want to start him up. Next, we have the wide receiver position. DeAndre Hopkins came out firing last week. He was absolutely amazing. 14 receptions for 151 yards. Whew! He is absolutely amazing. Obviously, you're going to fire him up every week. I just wanted to tell you how awesome he played. Next, we have Christian Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald. At this moment, I won't be starting them, but I do expect them to be more involved moving forward. I think that DeAndre Hopkins getting 14 receptions is great, but I don't foresee that being an every week kind of thing. So I think that eventually they will get more involved. But as of right now, DeAndre Hopkins is hot. All right, next we have the running back position. Kenyon Drake, you can definitely fire him up. I think he's going to be a fine start. Chase Edmonds got himself a nice little rollout touchdown last week. I will be watching for the involvement of Chase Edmonds. He's very talented, and I do think that the Cardinals will utilize him. So I'm watching out for that. See if the split gets a little closer to 50-50. Next, we have the tight end position, and I'm not actually going to have a tight end for them because I wouldn't start any of them. Defense, you can play the defense against Washington. Washington's offense does not scare me, and Arizona's defense is not too bad, but they have a pretty solid corner. All right. You can start their kicker, I guess. If you want to start a kicker, you can start Arizona's kicker. Next, we have the Washington football team. Dwayne Haskins is their quarterback, and I don't think that he's at a starting point at this moment. Maybe later down his career he gets a little bit better and he runs a little more, but as of right now, you're not starting Dwayne Haskins. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Terry McLaurin is the best wide receiver on this team. He's a fantastic wide receiver. I do think that he will be seeing a lot of Patrick Peterson, the cornerback from the Arizona Cardinals, and he is fantastic. I think that's going to limit Terry McLaurin's upside, but I do think that you can still start Terry McLaurin. He's a very good wide receiver, and he will make plays because that's what great wide receivers do. Next, we have the running back position. Peyton Barber had himself a couple of touchdowns last week. That kind of surprised me a little bit, but, those were very close to the end zone, jumping in. I think that Antonio Gibson starts to be more involved this week. I'm not playing Peyton Barber, and I'm not trying to play Antonio Gibson. But if you're in a pinch, you can throw Antonio Gibson into your flex position because they should be down in this game. But we thought they were going to be down a lot against Philadelphia, and Washington came through with the second quarter of their lives. It was amazing. Anyways, so you can start Terry McLaurin. You can start Antonio Gibson as a flex play, and I'm not trying to start Peyton Barber, even though he did get the most touches. I do want to let y'all know that when it comes to rushes. All right, next, the tight end position. Logan Thomas is somebody y'all may not know, but Arizona last year was terrible against the tight end. So if you are swinging for the fences, you don't have a tight end, and there's none on your waiver wire, try out Logan Thomas. He might not be terrible. Okay, and I'm not starting their defense nor their kicker because I don't think that their offense is going to be very good this week. So it's time to pick this game. 6.5. I'm still taking the Cardinals. I think that they're going to continue that reign of offensive dominance. I think they're going to be very good. I love DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray, and I think that Christian Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald are fantastic secondary pieces, and their running backs are good, and their defense is not terrible. So I think that Arizona covers this one. Geoffrey, do you have anything for me? Or for the audience? For the people?
Kyler Murray would have had 100 yards rushing, but, at the end of the game, when he took a knee to run the clock out, he lost 9 rushing yards.
True that. You know what? Jeffrey's right. They really should change that rule. There is no reason why kneeling should be a negative thing in fantasy football. You're doing it at the very end of the game because you're securing the win. It's a positive thing, but somehow it takes away from the quarterback position. That's outrageous. Also, kneeling in shotgun? Why are you going back so far? You don't need to be back that far. I guess they're trying to keep Kyler Murray safe, but the rule's silly in general. Change it, everybody. This is fantasy football. We can make whatever rules we want. Fix that. All right, I'll get off my soapbox. All right. I think that's going to do it for that one. On to the next one. Next up, we have the Philadelphia Eagles versus the LA Rams. All right, the home team is going to be the Eagles, so we're going to start with that. The Eagles are actually 1.5-point underdogs in this game, and I can understand why, considering they just lost to the Washington football team. All right, starting off with the quarterback position, Carson Wentz did not look very good. He had a lot of injuries on his team. Wide receivers were injured. He had some offensive line issues. Miles Sanders was out. I understand all that. He also threw 2 picks that were on him. Those were not good throws. So, Carson Wentz, I think that you can bench him this week. If you have a better person to put in your lineup, you can bench him. If you don't, I mean, I'm not going out and signing somebody that's slightly better than him, getting rid of somebody on my bench that I really like for it. I think that he can be started, but I'm not trying to start him. Next, we have the wide receiver position, and they're extremely dinged up. Alshon Jeffrey is probably not going to play. We got Deshaun Jackson. I think he can be played as a flex possibility with upside. He always can get shot down deep, and the coach was saying that he wants to get him more involved in the snaps, so I do think that that's good. Deshaun Jackson got targeted 7 times, missed out on a couple of opportunities, and I think that they're going to get him even more involved. 7 opportunities for a speedster like Deshaun Jackson is pretty solid, and if they're going to have him on the field more, something to watch out for. Jalen Reagor was 1 for 55, but I do think that moving forward, he will be more involved, and I like what I saw from him. Jalen Reagor is a name to watch out for on the waiver wire. You might want to actually add him this week and put him on your bench and see what happens this week, because I actually like him, and I think moving forward, he's going to be pretty good. Next, we have the running back position. Miles Sanders is projected to play. That's awesome. A lot of you drafted him in the 1st or 2nd round this year. I'm excited to see what he's got. He's got the backfield to himself. Well, not to himself. I guess Boston Scott's there. Boston Scott didn't have a great game last week, but he also got dinged up. He came out of the game and came back in. Didn't look like himself, but I do think that better days are ahead for Boston Scott. I don't think that he was as bad as the stat line says. Hopefully that offensive line also gets healthy too, so that they can actually have a productive running game. And I think that that will help the passing game as well, even though they're all dinged up as well. But half the passing game is the tight end position. Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. I actually think you can start both of them in this game. Zach Ertz had himself a nice little touchdown, but Dallas Goedert was on fire. Over 100 yards, 8 receptions. Woo! Fantastic. fantastic. I think that you can absolutely start Dallas Goedert, and he might be a top 10 tight end moving forward. So, the defense, I'm not really trying to start against the Rams because I kind of liked what I saw from the Rams last week. And you can start Jake Elliott because I think he's a solid kicker. All right. Next, we have the LA Rams. Okay, starting at the top, Jared Goff. Jared Goff didn't have a great game last week, but I think that they were just running the ball so productively that they really didn't need to throw it that much. I do still think that Jared Goff is going to get his throws in, but last week I feel like was more of an outlier, not the rule. I don't know if they're going to be running as often as they were last game. It was working very well. So I think that you can leave, if you have Jared Goff, you can leave him on the bench or leave him on the waiver wire. But I do actually think that he has some productive games later down the line this year. Moving on, wide receiver position. Of course, you can start Robert Woods. You can start Cooper Kupp. I think those are both great starts. Cooper Kupp, I think I'm interested to see if they're going to use 2 tight end sets more often, because when they do that, it takes Cooper Kupp a little off the field, and I'm not a big fan of that. But I do think that you can play both of them. Robert Woods is a smash play every week. I love Robert Woods. Next, we're going to go on to the running back position. Now, this is a little bit murky. Last week, Malcolm Brown led the team in rushes, and he looked great. He looked absolutely fantastic, but I'm interested to see how long he holds on to that role. I think that the production that he had and the amount of work that he got, because he was more of the hot hand approach, and I think that he was a hot hand. And Cam Akers didn't really look great. Malcolm Brown did look fantastic, but I'm not quite sure he's going to look fantastic every week, because if that's the case, then why the heck did they draft Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers? Well, in separate years, of course, but still. Malcolm Brown was on the roster when he got them. So, I think that it's going to be more of a committee, and for those of you who spent a lot of your fab or used your waiver priority on him, I do think that you can start him as a flex play this week, but temper expectations. I expect that the amount of touches are going to get closer and closer moving forward, but I think that as of right now, he is the starter. You can play him. Next up, we have the tight end position, Tyler Higbee and Gerald Everett. You're not playing Gerald Everett, but you can start Tyler Higbee. Not the best of plays last week, but I do think that you can start him again. I haven't jumped off a ship. I do think that he is a very talented tight end. I don't think that what happened last year, where he blew up and went crazy, is going to happen. But I do think that he should be a productive tight end. Tight end production is not something that is not as easy to come by, but I do think that you can start him. Next, the Rams defense. I think you can play the Rams defense against Philadelphia. I love the defensive line of the Rams. I also like that Jalen Ramsey is in the secondary. I think that they should have a fine game this week. And you can start the kickers. All right. If you want. All right. Picking this game. 1.5 point spread. Going with the Rams. Rams are going to start 2-0. Pretty solid. Unfortunately, that would leave the Eagles starting 0-2, and that is not a good look. But I like the Rams. I think that they're looking up this year. All right, Jeffrey, you got anything?
The Rams held the high-powered Dallas Cowboys to 17 points. They should be able to handle an injured Eagles team.
That's a good point. All right. I think that's going to do it. On to the next one. Alright, this next one is going to be the Seattle Seahawks versus the New England Patriots. And this game is a 4.5 point spread for the Seahawks and happens to be in Seattle. So let's start with Seattle. Alright, Russell Wilson had himself a day last week. He was absolutely fantastic. One of his best games I've seen. He went 31 for 35. That's incredible. He only had 4 incompletions. And honestly, all 4 of those were DK Metcalf. Metcalf, you got to catch those, man. Come on now. Get my man's stat line up. All right, Russell Wilson is obviously a star. He's a fantastic quarterback. You start him every week. He's a beast. Next, we're going to go to the wide receiver position. And Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are both starts. They're both very good, talented wide receivers, and I think that they should have solid games. That being said, the cornerbacks for the Patriots are very, 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 very good. And I think that Stephon Gilmore is probably going to be on DK Metcalf. So I think that Tyler Lockett is going to have a slightly better game than DK Metcalf because of the cornerback play. Stephon Gilmore is really, really, really good. So I think that I don't think he's going to lock him down, but I do think he's going to have a tough go at it. All right, next we're going to the running back position. Chris Carson is a start for me. I definitely think that he's going to have a little bit tougher of a game, but I think that you should still start him. Chris Carson is a great running back, and I definitely think that the Seattle is going to be able to move the ball, and that is going to help Chris Carson. Next, I'm not starting one of their tight ends, Greg Olsen or Will Disley. Defense, I'm a fringe start for the defense against the Patriots. I still think that Cam Newton's going to have a pretty solid game, so I'm not like fighting the waiver wire to get them on my starting roster. And then you can start their kicker. All right, next we have the New England Patriots and Cam Newton. I think Cam Newton's definitely a start this week. Last week, his rushing was phenomenal. He looks like he's going to have a great year, especially with that rushing baseline. This is fantasy football, and rushing matters a lot for the quarterback position. So I think that he's going to be fine. Also, he gets in rushing touchdowns. Had 2 of them. And if N'Keal Harry didn't fumble in the end zone with some crazy rule that now it's a turnover because it was a fumble in the end zone, if he would have fumbled 3 feet ahead of that, it would have gone back to the Patriots. But you know what? Let me get off my soapbox and get back to this analysis. Cam Newton is the absolute start this week. Fire him up. Next, we have Julian Edelman at wide receiver. I like Julian Edelman. He's not what he was with Tom Brady, but I do think that he will still be a valuable wide receiver to have on your roster. And up next, he will also be like the only wide receiver that I'd be looking at. N'Keal Harry, maybe down the line, he might be more valuable, but right now he is not a start. Next, we are going to go to the running back position, and I'm not playing Sony Michel until I see some better work moving forward. He is not a start for me, but James White, I think you can play him as a flex play because there's a chance that Seattle is up in this game and New England's coming from behind, and I think that's going to be some dump-offs to James White to get them back down the field. Next, we have the tight end. I'm not starting one of their tight ends, so we're going to keep on moving. I'm probably not going to start their kicker, but you could start their kicker. I mean, it's a kicker. I think that they're going to get close enough to have a pretty solid game, so there's that. All right, now I got to pick this game. 4.5-point favorites. I want to tell you something before I pick this game, though. I am biased. Something about the Patriots always makes me want to pick them. I just don't like giving other teams the points. Even if the Patriots don't win, I always feel like they keep it close. I don't know. My mind's telling me no, but my body is telling me yes. Sorry about the singing, guys, but that's going to be here, and that's going to kind of be what I do. I like the Patriots. I think that, I don't know if they'll win, but I definitely think that they can cover 4.5 points. That's not a lot of points, but I don't see Bill Belichick losing by more than a field goal, so I'm going Patriots, even though I feel like a lot of people think that Seattle's going to win. Seattle has a fantastic offense. I think they're going to be very good, and there's a chance that they go up, but I don't think that they but I don't think that they beat the Patriots by more than 3. All right. That's going to do it for this one. Do you have anything that you'd like to add, Geoffrey?
Cam Newton had 75 rushing yards. That was more rushing yards than Sony Michel and James White combined.
My goodness, that is absolutely incredible. All right. I think that's going to do it. On to the next one. Next up, we have the Tennessee Titans versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. This game is going to be in Tennessee. The Tennessee Titans are 10.5-point favorites. Woo! That is a big spread. All right, we're going to start with the Titans. So we have Ryan Tannehill, who had a pretty fine game last week. 2 touchdowns, almost 250 yards. Not too bad. Got a little bit of work on the ground, not as much as I'm used to, but had a pretty solid game. I think that he actually could be a fringe starter this week. If you maybe have a bad matchup, or if, I don't know, maybe he's on your bench, I actually think that he could be a fine play this week. Jacksonville doesn't scare me, and I think that Ryan Tannehill could be fine. That being said, I think that A.J. Brown is dinged up and may not start. And if that's the case, downgrade him a little bit. But he might have to do a little bit more with his legs. Anyways, we will get to that in a minute. That is the quarterback position. Now to the wide receivers. Like I said before, A.J. Brown is dinged up, and I don't believe he will play. And if he does not play, Corey Davis becomes a little interesting. I think that Corey Davis might get a little bit more work, and he could be a sneaky play. So, as a fringe flex play with upside, if you really need somebody, Corey Davis might be pretty solid. All right, next we have the tight end position. Actually, let's go to running back position. Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is an absolute monster. He is going to run all over the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. Absolutely fire him up. Going to be fantastic play. Next, we have the tight end position. Jonnu Smith. I think that he is a fine start this week, especially with A.J. Brown out. I think that they will be looking at him early and often, and he is a big body, fast tight end. So I think that he's going to be a great start this week. You can also play the Titans defense against Jaguars. I like their front, and I think their secondary is not bad. So, I also think that you can start the Titans kicker because, kickers, you know, it should be, they're favored by 10.5. That means they should be far ahead, and that should give the kicker a little extra work. Next, we are going to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Starting off with Gardner Minshew. I like him more in the future. He's a solid quarterback. I like that he runs the ball, but I don't think that this is the best matchup to play him in. You may want to keep him on your bench for this week, but moving forward, the schedule gets a little bit better. Next, we will go to the wide receiver position, and as of right now, the only wide receiver that I'm concerned about or want to play is DJ Chark, DJ Chark, DJ Chark, DJ Chark. All right. Yeah, I definitely think you can fire him up. He's going to be a solid start this week. I'm not really starting any of the other wide receivers. Next, we're going to go to the running back position, and James Robinson actually got all the running back work last week. I was surprised at that, actually. I thought that Chris Thompson would be a little more involved in the running game and the receiving game. I don't think that he's a fantastic play, so I think he's a flex at best, especially considering he's not really too involved in the passing game. He's more, I don't really see him as a must start. Moving forward, he may be a little more involved, but I think Chris is going to get in on this one. I feel like Kristen was not utilized as much in the game one, and I don't think that that's going to continue. All right, and I'm not starting their tight end or their kicker. Time to pick this game. 10.5 points is a lot of points. It's a lot of points. You know what? Jacksonville, I actually think y'all cover this. 10.5 points is disrespectful. They have y'all losing by over a touchdown and a field goal. Nah, it's going to be closer than that. They may not win, but they'll make it interesting. All right, Jeffrey, you got anything on this one?
Thank you for not making me sing the DJ Chark song again, sir.
No problem. You're going to get involved on that next one, though. All right, on to the next one. Next up, we have the San Francisco 49ers versus the New York Jets. All right, the spread for this one is -6.5 San Francisco, but it is in New York, so that's where we will begin. Quarterback position, Sam Darnold. No one starting him in any way, shape, or form. Not in 2 quarterback leagues. No one should start Sam Darnold in this game. Not only is it a bad matchup, but he's missing a lot of pieces. Le'Veon Bell out. Jamison Crowder out. Other people dinged up. I'm not trying to start him. Nobody should start him. On to the next one. Wide receiver, like I said, Jamison Crowder, I believe, is out for this game. That does not leave very many wide receiver options that I would even think about. Brashad Perriman may be in a DFS play because he's the only real option left, but I'm really not playing him, and I probably don't even think you should play him in DFS. But, I mean, he is the only person that will be catching balls, so, well, one of the only people. Next, we are going to go to the running back position. Le'Veon Bell got injured last week. He had an issue with his hamstrings, even though in training camp he said he had no issues with his hamstrings. Now, week 1, he's got an issue with his hamstring. He got brought down awkwardly, came out of the game. Adam Gase knew about it, let him come back in the game, hurt himself even more. Now he's on IR. We're not going to have him for at least 3 weeks. Thank you, Adam Gase. I appreciate that. And you know what, Le'Veon Bell? You knew you weren't feeling right. You should have stayed out. Ugh, whatever. On to the next. Frank Gore is going to be the starting running back for this team, and I'm not starting Frank Gore against San Francisco, even though it is a revenge game. But Frank Gore has played for a lot of teams, but he did play for the San Francisco 49ers, so revenge game. All right, next we have the tight end position. Chris Herndon. A lot of you may not know him. Chris Herndon is a tight end for the New York Jets. He's previously been injured in the past, but he seems to be healthy enough to play, and they don't have very many pass catchers. I think that you can start Chris Herndon as a desperation tight end play, and he could actually have some production. They don't have very many people to throw it to. It's probably going to be him and Brashad Perriman and whoever can come out of the backfield and catch a little something. So I think you can actually play him. I'm not playing the defense, and I'm not playing the kicker, for sure. Next, we're going to go to San Francisco 49ers. We're going to start off with the quarterback, Jimmy GQ, Mr. Handsome himself. I think that he actually has a fine game this week. I'm probably not starting him, but I think you could if you really needed to. Jimmy GQ is a great matchup. They don't scare me at all. So I think that I'm not starting him. I don't think I have him as a top 12 starter, but I mean, worst comes to worst, he's not going to have a bad game. Next, we're going to go to the wide receiver position where there are no notable wide receivers that I would start. So we're going to keep moving past that to the running back position. Last week, for those of you who do not know, the air quality was not good in San Francisco where they were playing. It was not good at all, and Tevin Coleman has some health issues, so he wasn't as involved in the offense as he might have been if they were playing, I don't know, anywhere else. So I think Tevin Coleman's going to get a little more involved than he was before. Jerick McKinnon was also involved last week, but the star is Raheem Mostert. Had a fantastic game, 50-plus yards on the ground. He had like 70-plus yards in the air. Well, actually probably like 80, 90 yards in the air. And he had a touchdown. Great long run. Fantastic. He had a great game. He was a beast. I think that he's definitely going to be able to be started this week. The Jets don't scare me in any way, shape, or form. He should be just fine. Start him up for sure. Next, we have the tight end position. Unfortunately, George Kittle, I do not believe is going to be playing this week, so you can't start him. Anytime George Kittle plays, you play him. But I don't think he's going to be playing. So you'll have to look at alternatives. I won't be moving over to the Jordan Reed situation because I'm not playing that game yet. I'm going to see it to believe it on Jordan Reed as of right now. Next, we have the defense. You can definitely play the defense against the Jets. Like I said before, they don't scare me, but they may scare them. They definitely scare Sam Darnold, that's for darn sure. All right, and you can start their kicker, Robbie Gould, because he's going to get a lot of gigs. This game is going to get out of hand, and I think I just gave you my hand. 6.5 point spread. What is going on? How is it possibly that close? This is going to be a blowout. 49ers are going to destroy the Jets. Calling it now. Book it. All right, Jeffrey, what do you got?
Raheem Mostert had 23.1 points in half-point PPR. 14.1 of those points came from his 76-yard touchdown reception.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point. That's a large percentage, Jeffrey. All right, on to the next one. Next, we have the Chicago Bears versus the New York Giants. And this is actually an interesting spread to me. 5.5 for the Bears. At home. But, I mean, at home. Okay, so let's start with that home team, the Bears. So we have Mitchell Trubisky as the quarterback. He had a fine game last week. I'm still not starting him. He looked terrible for 3 quarters. Absolutely terrible. And then for whatever reason the Lions decided we're not gonna play defense anymore. You got it, Mitch. We don't want to win this game. All seriousness, he made a couple solid plays down the stretch in the 4th quarter, but for 3 quarters he looked terrible. So I'm not starting him. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Of course you can start Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson's a fantastic wide receiver. You fire him up every week. Next though, Anthony Miller. Anthony Miller had a solid game because of the 4th quarter. That long touchdown catch he got, which was a very nice catch. It was actually a really nice throw as well. He's a fringe flex play for me. I'm not trying to play him, but I can understand in a desperation play. Next, we have the running back position. You have David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen. I see them both as flex plays. I did think that David Montgomery looked pretty good last week. I know that the fantasy points didn't really come up with the same production as that, but I thought he looked good. He ran well. So I liked that. But I think that they're both flex plays. David Montgomery has upside to being a running back too. All right, next we have the tight end position and the rebirth of Jimmy Graham. Had a touchdown, almost could have had 2. That was surprising. But you know what? Jimmy Graham looks like he's going to be involved in this offense. They paid him. They had 1,000 other tight ends, but they paid him. So I think that Jimmy Graham's actually a solid play if you're desperate. So next we're going to go to the defense. And you could definitely play defense against Danny Dimes. You're going to get some sacks. You're definitely going to get a couple picks. And I guess I'm fine with the kicker. All right, next, we're going to go to the New York Giants. Danny Dimes, also known as Daniel Jones. I actually was impressed with what I saw last week. I thought that he had a very good game against an extremely difficult defense. The Steelers' defense is fantastic, and I liked what I saw from him. I don't think that he's, blowing the world out, but, I do think that he is showing that he has potential to be solid moving forward. I'm not starting him this week. I think that the Bears defense is going to do some work, but I do like Danny Dimes moving forward. I think that he could have a solid year. Next, we have the wide receiver position. 3 wide receivers that we're going to be talking about. You got Sterling Shepard, Golden Tate, and Darius Slayton. It looked like Darius Slayton was one of the go-to guys for Daniel Jones. A lot of nice deep passes. He had 2 touchdowns, very solid, good game. He's going to be one of those boomer bust kind of guys, though. I don't see Darius Slayton as an every week starter. You're going to have to really pick and choose your battles on this one. I think it's risky thinking he's going to have back-to-back great games, especially Golden Tate seems like he may play, and if Golden Tate plays, I think he's going to take some production from Daniel Jones. That being said, I think they're going to ease Golden Tate back in. I think Sterling Shepard has a slightly better game than he had last time. I think all of these people are flex plays at best, low-end flex plays at that, with some upside, especially in the Slayton category. He could always bust one down for 60-yard touchdown, but I'm not really starting any of them if I don't have to. Next, we're going to go to the running back position, and Saquon Barkley is a beast, but he played terribly against the Steelers. It was awful. On the ground, it was absolutely horrific. But in the air, he got enough done to where he didn't kill your team. But, whew, man, the Steelers defense is for real. All right, next we're going to talk about the tight end position. Evan Ingram had some solid targets, but the Steelers defense, again, you're going to notice this is a trend. The Steelers defense is beastly. They locked him down like a vault, baby, locked down. He had the targets. He just didn't have the production because he couldn't get it done with all those defenders all over him. So, I think that you could definitely play him this week. Bears aren't a great matchup for him, but I still think that you can play Evan Ingram. And you know what? If people are starting to get nervous about him in your leagues, I'd be going after him. I like Evan Ingram. I think he is very, very talented. So, as long as he's healthy, in my opinion, he's in my lineup. Next, we have the defense and kicker, and I'm not starting either one of them in this game. All right. Spread is 5.5 for the Bears. I actually think that Daniel Jones keeps them in this one. I think it's closer than people think it's going to be. He played pretty well, and I think that they have a better offense than people are giving him credit for. I'm smashing this. There's no way that they're going to lose by 6 points. All right. Geoffrey, you got anything on this one?
The Steelers locked down Saquon Barkley on the ground last week. He only had 6 rushing yards.
Man. Yeah, that is bad. Yeah, Saquon's going to have better games in the future because that was terrible on the ground. All right, I think that's going to do it. On to the next one. Next, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Denver Broncos. Pittsburgh Steelers are favored by 6.5. They're also the home team, so let's start with them. At the top, Ben Roethlisberger, Big Ben as we call him. He is a start. He looks good. I think that he looks healthy, and a healthy Big Ben is going to get some work done. I love his receiving core, and I think that he is very solid. You can start him up as a low-end quarterback 1. Next, we're going to go to the wide receiver position. We have Juju Smith-Schuster and Deontay Johnson. I think that they both can be played. Juju Smith-Schuster is a must-start. Deontay Johnson is going to be a flex play at best with upside. I did like how many targets they were giving him. But I do think that they're going to spread the ball around a little bit. That being said, we're going to go to the running back position where it gets a little interesting. James Conner got dinged up last week and they pulled him from the game. Then Benny Snell went in and went crazy. He had a lot of work on the ground, over 100 yards. He didn't get anything in the air, but I do think that this is going to be an interesting dynamic because it seems like James Conner's going to play. And if James Conner plays and Benny Snell plays, it makes it a really murky backfield. I don't know if I want to start either of them, considering we don't know how the game's going to go. Is James Conner just rushing back to try to get out there, or were the Steelers just being precautious for him? Are they going to split carries? I don't know what's going to happen, so I'm not quite sure what James Conner or what Benny Snell you're going to be getting. What are the opportunities? What are the breakdowns? So I'm going to be looking at that this week, finding out how they're going to be using James Conner moving forward, especially considering coming into the year, Mike Tomlin was like, he's our guy, he's our bell cow, he's going to carry the ball, and then halfway through game 1, he's standing on the sidelines, not getting any work. So I don't know if they're going to be concerned with him moving forward. So I'm more watch and see on that one. I'm not trying to play either of them if I don't have to. Next, tight end position. I'm still watching out for Eric Ebron, but I'm not starting him. That's not going to happen. Next, we have the defense, and you're absolutely starting the defense against them. Against the Broncos. You have a quarterback that's not a rookie, but he's newer. Cortland Sutton can barely lift his arms over his head. Jerry Jeudy is a rookie. Noah Fant is a second-year player. I'm definitely starting the defense against him. They're going to have a field day. And you can start the kicker because they're probably going to be in a positive game script. Next, we're going to go to the Denver Broncos, starting at the top with Drew Lock. And he's going to be like a vault baby locked down. He is not having a good game, for sure. Steelers are going to do work against him. He's going to have a tough outing. Next, we're going to go to the wide receiver position. Cortland Sutton is still up in the air on whether or not he can play. As of right now, what I've heard is he can't lift his arms above his head, and that really impedes catching. I'm not quite sure if you know that. But if you can't catch very well and you're going against the Steelers, that's a sit for me. Jerry Jeudy, also not trying to play him if I don't have to. The Steelers defense is going to be beastly. Yes, I know they don't have many people to throw it to, but it's not going to be pretty. Next, we have the running back position. Philip Lindsay, I believe, has turf toe, and I obviously won't be starting him because of that. I don't also have him on my teams, but I don't think you should start Philip Lindsay with the turf toe situation. Next, we have Melvin Gordon. He is going to have a tough go at it. He is going to have a tough week. Yes, he is going to get the volume. You know who got the volume last week? Saquon Barkley. You know what happened on the ground? Absolutely nothing. He was held to like 6 yards. It was terrible. So, if you have to start him, he's going to be a flex play for sure. And you're counting on volume and that he can fall into the end zone somehow. So, also, you're also counting on him getting some receiving work. With Philip Lindsay out, I do think you can still start him as a flex because he will get a vast majority of it. Yeah, they'll move in some Royce Freeman as well, but it's really going to be the Melvin Gordon show. So, I think by pure volume, he should be okay. And you're hoping that he falls into the end zone and catches like six passes. All right, next we have the tight end, Noah Fant, which I love Noah Fant. He's Noah Fantastic, except for the fact that he's playing the Steelers. I love Evan Ingram too, but he got locked down against the Steelers. I don't even know how he got locked down as hard as he did. He only had like 2.5 points. Like 2 catches. It was terrible. I don't know if Noah Fant gets locked down that hard, but he is going to have a very, very rough go at it. So, if you're looking for some upside, Noah Fant's not going to be the play this week. Next, we're going to go with the defense and the kicker. I don't think that you want to start either one of them in this game because I don't think it's going to be a very positive matchup. So, we got to pick this game. We got the Steelers and the Broncos. 6.5 points for the Steelers. I think y'all all know where I'm going with this one. Steelers, baby. Oh, man. They are about to lock down the Broncos. This is not going to be a good look for them. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got on that. Steelers defense looking incredible. All right, Geoffrey, what do you got?
With the way that he is playing, Ben Roethlisberger has a chance to be the comeback player of the year.
Yep. All right, that's going to do it for that one. On to the next one. All right. Now we're going to go over the Buffalo Bills versus the Miami Dolphins. And this game is in Miami. All right, so the spread is -5.5 Bills. And it's in Miami, so let's start in Miami. So starting quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick for now. I like Ryan Fitzpatrick a lot, but I hate the matchup. You're going to bench him. Next, we're going to go to the wide receiver position. Devontae Parker's still a little banged up. Even if he plays, I think you sit him. Same with Preston Williams. I don't want to mess with this defense. They are elite. Running back position, you're going to be sitting Jordan Howard, Matt Breida, and Myles Gaskin is now a thing. Didn't even much know who he was, but he came out firing. Just he was effective on the ground and in the air. I'm still not starting him. I'm not playing anybody to going against the Bills as of right now, and I don't think that the Dolphins offense is good enough to actually move it enough to be elite against them, or at least good against them. Next, we are going to have the tight end. I'm not starting Mike Gesicki either. Bench. Defense, no. Kicker, no. On to the Bills. Josh Allen had a fantastic game. Over 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns in the air, 1 on the ground, 50 plus yards on the ground. Man, he was fantastic. Other than those 2 terrible fumbles that he had. That was awful. But it's fantasy football. All that running knocked out those 2 fumbles math-wise. He is fantastic. Fire him up. Miami doesn't scare me. Next, we have the wide receiver position. I'm not playing Cole Beasley. John Brown is a flex type play, a fringe flex at that. Stephon Diggs you can play as well, or you can definitely play, but watch out. Miami's, they have a couple corners that are pretty solid, so I don't think that it's going to be a walk in the park for Stephon Diggs, but I do think he has an okay game today, or tomorrow. Next, we are going to go over the running back position. Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, I think, are both flex plays. And I'm not really excited about either of them, but if I had to pick one that I thought was going to fall into the end zone, I'd probably say Zach Moss. But I'm not trying to start either of them if I don't have to. They're both flex plays, low-end flex plays. I'm not starting their tight end, but I do think that you can start their defense and their kicker because I have them being up in this game. All right, so now it's time to pick 5.5 for the Bills. I do like Miami, but I think Buffalo's defense is going to do some work, and I think Josh Allen's going to move the ball down the field pretty well. All right, Jeffrey, do you have anything for this game?
Josh Allen had more rushing yards than Devin Singletary and Zach Moss combined.
All right, sounds good. All right, that is going to do it for our Week 2 matchups. I hope that helped. Let me know what you thought about it. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? Who's too high? Who's too low? What teams do you think are going to win that I think are going to lose, at least against the spread? Don't forget to like and subscribe. And Jeffrey, do you have anything for the people?
Good luck in your matchups, Bay Nation. Cheerio. See you soon.
All right, that's going to do it. Good luck in your matchups this week. Peace.